Hello there. So another one of these kind of longer videos, going into a bit more depth about a certain topic or idea. So today I'm going to talk about the sort of basic method that you should approach learning all techniques with. It's the only proper way to master any technique or build it up to a high level. You can really take it to the high sort of level that you want to. Really, you can only get as good as you're willing to put the effort in to get, basically. So say you're learning a new technique, you've got these different stages that you go through. It's like the basic sort of learning what it is. Then once you've kind of got it, then you sort of getting up to a good standard, and it's being really competent and being able to do it without thinking. And then there's kind of pushing it to the highest level that you possibly can. Of course, depends how much effort you want to put in, how bad you want it, and what sort of stage you end up at. So first thing with any technique is to just break it down into steps, break it to small chunks, called chunking, I believe. And so you break it up into different segments. So you're doing a hip throw technique, which is a jiu-jitsu technique. So there's different stages. So there's the sort of bringing them forward to sort of destabilize their balance a little bit. Then there's your foot position, so you swivel and come into place. And then there's the actual using your legs and just a little jolt there to lift them and twist them up. So you break it up into different stages first. And then once you've got these different stages, you can focus one bit at a time and understand each stage of the process. Because there will be certain stages that are harder than others, and any difficulty you find will be in certain areas, and so you can kind of isolate them as well. That's what it allows you to do, as well as teaching you to sort of build up. And so deliberately go through it slowly. A lot of people are tempted to just kind of, they see it done at performance speed, the maximum, the proper way it's supposed to be done, and they kind of want to instantly be able to replicate that straight away. But you have to understand that you can't really do that. You have to be patient and approach it in this slow, methodical way. So you've got to break it up and then slowly run through each phase in sequence, kind of get a feel for each little bit. So you do it deliberately slow and steady. And then, like I said, some parts will be more tricky than others, and so you can sort of pay attention to those bits that are harder because of that. And then once you repeat, just keep going. Repetition is really the key to mastering any technique, because the reality is the reason a technique can go through in this stage of being able to barely able to do it, to being able to do it effortlessly without thinking, it's because of how your brain actually learns these things, how your brain remembers stuff. So there's basically, you got all your neurons in your brain, and when you perform certain actions, certain neurons kind of light up in a sort of chain pattern. So the act of doing the hip throw, those motions that you go through, in order for your body to perform those actions, your brain has to light up in certain ways, and the more you do it, the stronger that connection becomes. So when you repeat the same action again and again, it makes that connection really strong. When it's strong enough, you can just kind of do it without actually putting any conscious effort into it, because that sort of neural connection is so strong. And so that's why you just want to repeat stuff all the time. And so focus on the hard parts, and then try to, once you're almost trying to put it back together again. So you've broken it down into stages. Now you're trying to do it in one go without stopping, but you still deliberately be really slow. That's important. It's a temptation to try and go too fast and jump the gun and try and go from A to B just instantly, without respecting that there are steps in the process in between the two sort of states of capability. So you have to respect that there is this process you've got to go through. You can't like skip it, or it just doesn't work. So you have to start slow, but try and do the whole thing in like one fluid sort of motion without stopping. And then from there, you can begin to gradually, each time do it slightly faster. So your body has to kind of get used to being, or like comfortable being at the higher speed. And again, each time you're doing more repetitions, so that connection's getting stronger. It's getting easier for you to do it without thinking. And the less you have to think, the faster you can do it. So that's kind of a lot where the speed comes as well, because you don't have to consciously like process anything. You can just kind of move automatically, and that's where a lot of your speed actually comes from. So the repetition is like where it really sort of happens. So yeah, just gradually build up the speed more and more until eventually you'll start like kind of really pushing yourself to like do it as fast as you possibly can without making any mistakes, and like aim for consistency as well when you're doing that. When you're aiming for that sort of high speed execution, you want to be able to consistently do it at that speed without screwing it up. So yeah, a lot of it really is like repetition, understanding the importance of just doing the same thing again and again, no matter how boring it gets. Also, a lot of things people don't understand is the amount of effort that it takes to get from A to B increases. So you have to do more repetitions to get high levels of competency. It becomes harder to increase your level by a certain amount. So you got your base level. It doesn't take that much for you to like get the basic understanding of the technique, but the higher you go, the faster and like more like performance speed you get, the more high level it gets. The more repetitions you have to do to cover the same distance between the two, sort of across this sort of like imaginary like line, this bar, this like progression. So it becomes harder. You have to do more to get better, and it's like at the highest levels of performance in sports, there's not really that much between each of the high level players, but it's, at the same time, the smallest amount of like slightly better then can make a big difference in terms of like rankings or whatever. So that's basically the key method for learning any technique, how to master any techniques at a high level. You just follow that basic sort of principle, go along this method of like just being patient with it, understanding that there is a process you have to follow and you can't skip it. Just taking it steady from here and then building up more and more, and just repeating the same action again and again until your brain sort of like has this sort of neural connection that's so strong that you don't have to consciously think, and then you can start pushing yourself more physically in terms of like maximum speed and energy. So hope you found that sort of useful, and I'll see you in the next video.